Good afternoon. In the last session, we have completed the chapter 10, and here we'll start with the chapter 12, integration and testing of embedded hardware and firmware. So, before we could go to that part where we are into the syllabus, is you can see here in the module 5 we have completed RTOS part. Okay, how to choose an RTOS, that we have finished in the previous. So today we are discussing in this section integration and testing of embedded hardware and firmware. Okay, so that is a chapter 12 complete. Only two subheadings are there. Okay, two main headings are there, few subheadings are there that we are going to discuss today. So if we finish chapter 13, that finishes our syllabus. So looking into the content, I think 5 to 6 classes sufficient for me to finish the 13th chapter. Okay, so let's go for the chapter 12, that's integration and testing of embedded hardware firmware. So meaning of integration is attaching, okay, or adding with each other, connecting with each other, and testing means test whether it is working as per our expectation. If test results are as per our expectation, the product is correct. If testing results are not as per our requirement or our expectation, then we need to recheck all the stages of the system. Okay, so I hope you know these two steps in software engineering: integration of modules and testing of modules. So you might have studied testing steps like unit test, acceptance test, user test, performance test, then safety test, etc. These all are subtypes. Okay, now here this chapter will discuss what are the two things we are integrating or connecting with each other. One is hardware and another one is firmware. So hardware integrated with firmware. So very simple understanding. If I would like to give one example so that you can easily understand the concept of integration is, there is baby of 5 years. Okay, so that 5-year baby will have minimum minimum knowledge like sun, moon, etc. Okay, some playing toys name that kid can say. Okay, it is not the intelligent like the 12-year boy or a 12-year, 20-year gentleman. It is not a zero knowledge like just now born or a 1-month-old baby. So meaning of integration is brain is a hardware of the kid whose age is 5, and the knowledge gradually he acquire by looking his surrounding, learning in the school, learning by the parents. So that is called as adding the firmware. Firmware means it is our intelligence which we cannot measure. So how much intelligent? Nowadays we have IQ as a concept which will tell us how much intelligent he is, but it is not a visible thing. So but what we can do with respect to hardware is we can touch, we can check whether it is working or not, etc. That we can do. So in this chapter we will discuss how the hardware and firmware are integrated and tested, which are related to embedded system. If I take the example of some robots, which we have automatic robots, maybe Tesla's auto drive truck. Okay, Tesla's truck. So what happens here? What is a hardware? Car or a truck body, seat, then wheels, steering, fuel means battery. So these all are hardware. Then what is a software there, or software or a firmware means the one which makes more acceleration, less acceleration, applying a brake with looking into the object on the road. So these all called as intelligent. So when that automatic vehicle becomes more popular is when it drives safely through all type of difficult traffic. So then we can say it's a very intelligent vehicle. So then only the users will get confidence about using that system, and they prefer to buy such a vehicle. So now the concept, what we are going to in the introductory part, integration of hardware and firmware is, here is a one important word. We are embedding means forcing into. So we are attaching intelligence to the system hardware. So that means hardware is of no knowledge, making it knowledge is called as integration. Okay, and when we have to do integration is when we are sure that our development is completely finished. So once the development is completely done, then we can go for our integration. So without the completion of a development, the integration is not correct and not possible. Okay, so since we are developing hardware separate and firmware separate, it is important to collaborate them with each other. If the collaboration is success, we can say hardware got its knowledge and knowledge is controlling a hardware, like that we can say. But if collaboration is not there, hardware will behave according to his wish and firmware will behave according to his wish. We cannot say that as a perfect embedded system. Okay, so here if we perform a test, we will come to know the errors. So if errors are there, we can debug, we can fix the errors, then we will get a fine-tuned product. If we don't check for errors, definitely once we hand over that system to the user may find it errors, so he will reject the product in the market. Okay, once we finish with the integration and testing, next step itself is bulk manufacturing. So I hope you know that whatever we can see, some mobile handset is launched recently, and the advertisement we can see on the TV or some internet or YouTube. Okay, before that only some prototypes or what we call instead of manufacturing 5 lakh handset in one instance, they manufacture some 500 or 1000 handset. They will give it to different user for testing. So he will use, those users will use, and they will give their review or feedback. If feedback is good, then next bulk manufacturing is done. If feedback is not good, or the testing person who is using a system will give us a error or error report, then we should not go for bulk manufacturing. So that is what importance of testing. If we don't do this, if we develop a huge quantity of the product, okay, and then decide about the reviews, so the manufacturer goes into the flop or a failure. So to avoid that, we have to be careful and check integration and testing of a firmware and hardware. Okay, so sometimes even the expected voltage, what we call 5 voltage, okay, even that may also burn some part of a system. Okay, so that also the testing person should check whether the actual voltage really works or really it is correct level or not. Okay, so what happens in in some of embedded systems is the firmware we are going to copy it on processor or controller. Okay, so that means what, if our firmware means it's a program, firmware code is less, then we prefer to load or store that code on processor or controller memory itself. But if firmware is very high, then we should use external and bootable memory devices. External and bootable memory devices. General first preference of bootable memory device is hard disk. Okay, in computer. See, Windows OS is there, which we are using. It is of 8 to 10 GB. So we cannot store 8 to 10 GB in processor or controller memory, because processor or controller memory is hardly in terms of 1 MB or 2 MB cache. But OS will take 10 GB. So of course we are sure that we cannot store OS in processor memory. So we will choose that this one, a separate hard disk. But if you compare kids toys, so where there is one button left, one button right, one button straight, that's it, only 3 functions are there, so code will be less. So there it won't use any hard disk, directly in the program or processor memory only that firmware is loaded or stored. Okay, so now there are 2 methods of adding intelligence to the system. So one is out of circuit programming and another one is in system programming. Definitely you will get a question from this part only. If you get any question, if there is a possibility of asking question from the 12th chapter, definitely it will be explain different methods of embedding hardware and firmware. One method is out of circuit programming, and second one is in system programming. What do you mean by out of circuit programming? As a word indicates, listen carefully, remove the processor from the disk or the board, expose it to the ultraviolet rays, and because of ultraviolet light the memory of processor get written with program. Then again you keep back that processor on the board and use it. Okay, and use it. Okay, so this is what we call it as out of circuit programming. I repeat one more time. Take up a board. You can see here a board. Okay, so let me tell you with this diagram. See here, this is one device programmer. Okay, so we will bring the processor and keep it here, connect here. So as a programmer, he has written a program which is stored in the disk through some USB port from the computer side and COM port at the device side. COM port at the device side. COM means communication port. So data is sent from computer to this. Okay, let me tell you one simple example. Hope you all connected mobile to your laptop. Mobile to your laptop. So if you think this as a mobile and this as a laptop, what happens whenever you want to transfer data from computer to your laptop? So you will connect through wireless or wired. So let's assume wired connection. See, the data is moving towards this device. So actually you feel that you are copying into mobile. Okay, but in mobile again we have memory card. So now you can feel that actually you are writing into memory card of a mobile. That's a destination. But memory card we cannot take it and connect to any of a desktop. For some laptop we have a slots. I am taking example of desktop. I am writing data on memory card, but really speaking I have not connected memory card directly to my desktop. I have connected my memory card to the mobile. Mobile I have connected to my desktop. So that data from computer will go to memory card via mobile. So here mobile is called as device programmer, memory card is called as device, and computer is source. From computer as a source to destination memory card, but who is really writing on memory is not a computer, it's a mobile. So now this is what the meaning of out of circuit programming. Okay, so here take up the processor or controller or a memory chip, connect it to the special device called as a device programmer. Okay, transfer a data from computer to that, then after use again you connect the memory card. Okay, so now there are 12 steps. Okay, 12 important steps. Actually no need to remember, because these steps we are doing when we go for lab program part B, real implementation. Real implementation means when you people get a chance to execute in college by connecting a devices, then you will follow the same steps what I am telling now. Okay, so now what we do is, let's assume our interface program called stepper motor or LCD via ARM controller. So we will write our program in computer, not on the controller, and we will transfer that program whatever we have wrote and convert it into hex file via this cable called JTAG. Okay, so about this you are going to study in the next slide. So via JTAG we will send it to ARM controller. So ARM controller will understand the program and it will again dump it on. Dump means write. Dump it on the stepper motor. So stepper motor will understand the program and it will rotate either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Okay, so what are the 12 steps we have to follow so that out of circuit programming is achieved? So these are the steps. First, connect the programming device to a specific port of the PC. It is not like stepper motor can be connected anywhere to the PC. We should aware for which port we have to connect. Okay, so here in our programming or in our lab, it is simple, like through JTAG we connect, but internally JTAG accesses data from specific port of the board, so that we should aware. Power up the target device. So what it is important to power up the target device is, see, that means we are sending a data through this cable, but if the device is not ready by voltage or not active, then sending data gets failed. So to avoid that data loss, we should make receiver active. So making receiver active is called as power up the target device. Execute the program in IDE so that we will get a hex file. If you don't get a hex file, it is not possible to transfer. So to get a hex file, it is called as execute the program. Unlock the ZIF socket by turning the lock pin. Okay, so ZIF means zero insertion force. That means no need to we don't need to apply any force. That much easily it should be able to connect. Okay, so unlock the ZIF socket. So why we should unlock the ZIF socket is, whenever the programmer who did earlier, he will lock that okay, after his usage. So to connect, we have to unlock the ZIF socket, and we have to insert the device by programmed into the socket. We have to program the socket. So then after that we have to lock the ZIF socket. If you don't lock, what happens? Loose connection may result into part of a data loss. So to avoid that, we should lock the ZIF socket. Select the device from the list. Okay, so in our Flash Magic as a software, we will get plenty of processors. In that we select ARM7 only. Like that, we are going to select a perfect destination processor. So then transfer this hex file what we have created by the step 3 called execution. Okay, once I execute, I will get a hex file that I have to transfer. So then once I transfer, it is called as programming that device. Okay, so wait for completion of the program, and completion is shown in green check mark. Okay, this in this time, in this week, in the lab, I will try to show you what you mean by all these 12 steps. Okay, these are all 12 steps you are really doing. So now you may feel that the steps are different type or the new names, but once you execute 2 to 3 interfacing programs, the same 12 steps you are doing. Okay, so then finally once you execute and check the program, you go for unlock the ZIF socket. Unlock the ZIF socket. Okay, so this is what is called as out of circuit. So meaning is what? Remove the component from the system and connect it to the computer via some interface, do the program. Once the programming is done, then connect back to the onboard. So now, is there any other option, or do we need to remove or detach the processor every time? So the advanced method is in system programming. That means what? No need to detach any component from any of the board or a target device. So simply you connect and use. So this is what the technology what we have in today's computer as well as mobile. So the same data cable acts as a charging, same data cable acts as a data transfer cable, okay, etc. See, through the same cable we can write into the mobile memory or mobile memory card, or even we can write into the cloud, okay, of a mobile, through which we can access. See, these all are in system programming. So the difference between out of circuit and in system is, in out of circuit really we disconnect processor from the board, whereas in the second option called in system programming, we do not disconnect. Instead, the processor or controller or memory chip it will be fixed there only through some special cable called JTAG, Joint Test Action Group, or special peripheral interface protocol. We connect external device with our PC, that means computer, personal computer. So program is there in a personal computer, we want to send it to the destination or a target device. So here we will not really disconnect, instead we will send from computer to that device. Okay, so now it is very popular because it is a flexible. Why it is called flexible? There is no restriction that I have to disconnect a processor. Since this restriction is not there, so it is popular as well as flexible. So only condition is what? The receiver to whom we are trying to send a data should also support in system programming. If the receiver is not supporting the in system programming, then this method is not success or not. See, very simple way. We are present semester we are trying to teach you with the online mode. Okay, so now who is a target here for a teacher? The students. If students are not supporting online teaching, so definitely that is not possible to execute. That means what? The receivers or a target should also know about online procedure. So if they know about online procedure, then they will join. It is called as a good class. Okay, if the receiver is not supporting the in-system programming mode, then it is not possible to perform the in-system programming concept. So here one advantage is there won't be separate powers cable and data transfer cable. Okay, so data bus and power bus will remain same. Hence we say voltage itself is used as a clock signal. The voltage line itself is used as a clock signal. So the data transferring is done using JTAG, that's a Joint Test Action Group. Okay, Joint Test Action Group cable. Okay, so whenever we try to transfer a data from PC to the connected device, we come across these nomenclatures. Okay, what are those? Master output, slave input, master input, slave output, okay, system clock, reset and ground. So you know this very well. With the help of this diagram I will try to explain you. See, first master will send a data, that is called as master out. Slave will receive, that means master out, slave in. So after this, slave should give the acknowledgement that I have received this much data. So acknowledgement is sent back. How? Slave output, master input. Always you remember, if master is sending out, it is data. If slave is sending out, it is acknowledgement. Okay, here I have mentioned. Okay, personal computer acts as a master, target device acts as a slave. So program is sent. If I send a program, it is from the master always. Hence master acts as output. So I am sending it towards this one, target device. So target device I am calling it as slave. Hence a slave is collecting it. That's called as slave input. So then slave will give acknowledgement that I have collected this much information. So slave will give information. So if slave is giving information, slave will send master, slave will send out. That's why you can see here slave output. So acknowledgement is collected by master, hence it is called as master input. Master input. So here, what is the role of SCK? Here it is a system call. If between master and slave, if you don't maintain a good clock frequency, so master may send more data than the capacity of a slave. So what happens if master send 10 packets and slave receives 5 packets? Every time 5 packets data loss will happen. So to avoid this data loss, we should synchronize each. So it is important to synchronize. Okay, it is important to synchronize both master and slave device. Okay, so that is done through with respect to SCK. Next, whenever we supply some voltage for activating either master or a slave, some part of current is not required. Okay, so that is called as excess current, extra current or extra voltage, that we have to remove. So how it is possible to remove is by the ground connection. So ground will remove excess current. Okay, if all these works are done and my work of data transfer is done successfully, I should turn off. So if I turn off a computer, it is called as reset. Okay, what is the one more best way to explain a reset? If work is done, I will shut down, that's a reset. If work is not according to my expectation, then also I will reset. So whenever you try to make a computer or a mobile reset, when it is not working according to our expectation, then we will go for reset or restart. Okay, next. So what are the sub-steps of in-system programming? So there are seven sub-steps. 1. Supply the VCC and ground connection. Why it is important? VCC for activating the signal or components, ground to remove the extra current. Reset should be high. Initially, reset should be high. Configure the crystal oscillator to 12 megahertz. So why 12 megahertz? Because it is good throughput of a data. So these steps again you are going to do in your part B programs. Okay. So we are going to set a crystal oscillator as 12 megahertz. So enable serial programming. Serial programming means one after another byte of information transmission from source to destination. So if the data is present in the data segment or data part of a data area of a memory, and data code will be present in code area, that we have to transfer byte wise, as I told in the 4th step. So data serially we have to transfer a data in terms of bytes. So any memory location can be verified using read instruction. Okay, if a particular memory location is free or occupied, that we have to check only when we see or we read. See, you have a notebook of 100 page, you have written a first 50 page. So you don't, first some pages you have wrote. So now today's class is started. So you are started to writing a notes. So how you will do? You will open up a first page and you will see whether there is a white space or there something is written. So first page you have written. So that means what? The data is there. You should go for searching a new or freely available space. Like that you will do some 20, 25, 35 pages. After 35 pages you will get some new white sheet which is fully empty. There you start writing. So to identify which memory location is available, we should perform read instruction. So and finally perform the low for reset signal. Okay, so last 2 sub points is in application programming. So the first mode what I told is out of circuit, that means remove from the device, connect it via the connector and do the programming. So second is keep it inside the system only and try to do the program. So the third mode is hybrid in application. That means what? It is neither to remove nor to the in system, but it is application oriented. So what happens is we will write the firmware. We will write the firmware on the target device using particular applications for that. I hope if you know when some years back we used to many of the programmers using Nero software. I hope Nero software. So nowadays students might not knowing this, but during our college days we used to install Nero software to burn the data in CD. Now CDs are also not used because of the cloud service. Okay, so Nero software, this software is used to transfer data from computer to CD or DVD. So this is in application programming. See, without this application we cannot burn data on a CD. Okay, we cannot update the RAM, ROM, lookup table, pointers, etc. So to perform that, we have to use some application, some special applications which are developed for the purpose of in application programming. That means what? During writing, if you want to modify, you can modify. So I think you might have heard about rewritable DVD. So what do you mean by rewritable DVD? First you store a program. After some days, if you want to extend, you can extend it by again programming. Okay, it not only stores the data, it also stores starting point as well as end point of a program. Why starting point? If we don't maintain a starting point, so whenever we try to execute, it will start from a random location, which is not a correct. So we should maintain starting as well as end point. So there is one option for programming. If we don't want to detach the processor or controller and write program on it, and we are not interested in system, also in application, then we have an option called use of factory programmed chips. So I hope you know this factory programmed chips, that is called as PROM, programmed ROM, read only memory. Okay, see, very simple way is understanding this programmed chip is, you will take a kid's toy, take an example of kid's toy. So that toy has 4 functions. What are the 4 functions? If you click first button, it will go to left, second button right, third button straight, fourth button reverse. See here, there is no diversity, there is no extra added intelligence. Left, right, straight, back. Only these are the 4 steps what we have in our kids toys or a remote car. Here, since there is no extra work we can add, or there is no work which we wanted to remove, so what we do use this, the program for these 4 actions is developed and loaded on the memory chip when the chip was manufacturing. So what is use of this? As a user, I no need of writing new program on the chip. I can directly use it, bring it from the market and use it. Okay, so the last point with respect to this is firmware loading for OS based system. So if we are not using a simple systems like a kids toys, and we are interested to develop a little complex embedded system, then definitely instead of going with the super loop approach, use OS based approach, which we have studied in module 3, please recall. Okay, so now since we are using a special OS for the embedded system, what we can do in this approach or in this mode is, whatever we wanted to do, that is stored in terms of OS itself. So take a memory, load the OS, and whatever is there in OS, according to that we need to act. So this is what we are doing in our computer, day-to-day life, in Windows computer, in Linux computer. So already OS is there. According to OS instruction, our activities are controlled. Okay, so this OS will consist of a special entity called bootloader. So what do you mean by bootloader? So here it is, during loading time, okay, during load time of a OS, how the system should work. Once OS is loaded, OS will control, but during OS loading and before OS loading, how system should do or behave, that is really controlled by bootloader, which is very, very important. Okay, it's a very important thing. Why? Because OS will get loaded late. Okay, So before that only bootloader will get. If you turn on Windows, you will get a Windows logo after 5 seconds, but something will takes place between or earlier than 5 seconds, no? So whatever the activity takes place, that is called as bootloader activities. Okay, so which is a very important. And last step from this chapter 12th is board bring up. What do you mean by board bring up? Give the supply, give the power. Okay, so assume that you did one drone, or you did something called automatic car. Okay, something you did. So you will insert a battery. You will insert a battery. So battery will make a flow of electrons. So flow of electron, you have used some resistor, light, LEDs, some sound buzzers, okay, etc. You have used and developed, and you developed hardware separate, firmware separate, you embedded, integrated. Now you give the power supply. So if most of the project fails here, because the theoretical, so far it was a theoretical system, but when it is really connected to the battery, real electron flows. So most of the time, the first time whenever we board bring up, or first time we supply the power, it will burn the complete device. If project is new, which is of some capacitor and resistors and transistors, definitely it will burn. So we should look which part has got burnt, so that we can replace that part with high configuration devices or components. So in the next attempt it will improve itself, so that it will sustain with the voltage what we are expected to flow it. Okay, so what we do is, as I told earlier, before we could really launch into the market, some minimum number of handsets or mobile devices are, computer are manufactured, and they are given in different geography of this world for usage. Based upon their review, once all reviews are correct and expected, then company will go for bulk quantity manufacturing. Okay, so sometimes clock synchronization may not be achieved as expected. Because of that, data loss will takes place or happens. Okay, so that finishes our 12th chapter. Okay, so very simple concept. Chapter number 12, only 2 headings from here to here. You can see this much, only this much. Okay, integration and testing of embedded hardware and firmware. In the next class, we will start the last chapter of our syllabus, that is 13th chapter. So we'll try to finish the syllabus as early as possible. Okay, thank you.